I like to share some of the things that were very impactful to me this semester. There's so many, but I will spend my time focusing on Naomi Levy's work in Hope Will Find You, and then also on the topic of grief, and then also setting healthy boundaries. So I absolutely adored Hope Will Find You. In her story, she speaks to me, and I believe she speaks to so many others about discovering the God of our understanding, especially when we are living in trying times, as she journeys through that like estrangement, and you know, the God of our understanding as a God that fixes things or saves people, the God out there, so to speak, and moving into which he says, moving from the Superman God to a God that meets us within and allows us our free choices, but to know that in each and every moment that we can tune in and tap in deep within the wellspring of our soul, our hearts, to be guided through the challenges that we face that are part of this human journey. And there are many. And so I can relate to that in my own life in going through so many challenges physically that I've shared in class from a very young age and hardships going through divorce and so on and so on in moving to that place of having that mystical connection within. And I love in the Handbook of the Spirit, uh, Barbara DeAngelis shares this prayer: God, I am ready for you to reveal yourself in my life. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know if I'll recognize you when you get here, but I'm ready for a relationship with you. Send me signs. Send me the proper teacher. Send me the right path. Give me the wisdom rather, to notice when these things arrive. Give me the strength and courage to travel down the path and begin to explore the invisible world. I just really cherish that. And so Naomi, myself, are not unique in this struggle of, who is God, where is God, moving from our childhood God to the God of our understanding. And so what I think is beautiful here is for me to remember and to know that as people come to see me for spiritual direction, that they will be experiencing that same thing possibly in seeking. And I think perhaps when someone may be sharing that with me, that might be a beautiful prayer to introduce and to sit in the silence with. And so I just really appreciate that. And so Hope Will Find You also speaks about tuning into that thing we call hope, that spark of possibility in the midst of what seems dark and trying, to place our faith in something greater than what we are experiencing or sensing in our painful moments. And so as I was reading this, there was many things I could relate to in, I've shared about my son's, a little bit about my son's journey, and he's still struggling in the ability for me, um, not to wait for the next shoe to drop, as Naomi doesn't share those words, but, you know, coming from the trauma of her father being murdered and now her daughter being diagnosed with this rare disease, sometimes we don't realize that we're protecting ourselves, and that old God, is that God going to snatch someone or snatch something that I love and adore in my life? And so I remember so it was very timely to read this book and being in that own reflection in my own life. And that I remember being in so much pain, couldn't take pain meds the first week or two uh, after my hip replacement surgery, and feeling that excruciating pain, and my leg was swelling, and all of these fears were surfacing again, like, oh my God, am I having a blood clot again? And again, waiting for the next bad shoe to drop in my life. And something stirred in me. And I remember being at the end of the hallway and using the F bomb as a powerful affirmation. And I hope you don't mind me sharing it here. But I was standing there with my walker, and from the depths of I don't know where, my soul or whatever, and I said just the words, no, 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 the greatest, negation or denial, as we call in unity. And I just said with every fiber of my being, I am having a fucking complete healing. And I don't know, something shifted in me where I dared to look at the possibility of hope of healing instead of the next thing that was going to happen with my body. And as I was getting emotional, as I was finishing up the book this weekend, as I was sitting in the sun, um, I just felt that hope as I was reflecting, because prior, like 2 or 3 days prior, I actually shared with my husband, oh my goodness, I didn't even have to think about taking Tylenol today. And that I actually had a few days where I did not feel that background hum of nerve pain and pain. And I don't remember the last time I've even experienced that. So I can very much relate to hope finding me and me relishing in that experience. Like I said, over the weekend, and even now as I speak. And so bringing that into spiritual direction is me, as a spiritual director, listening to people share some things that they are going through that is trying and challenging. And I have heard in the two people I am doing spiritual direction with, I am companioning with, share some really heart-wrenching things that they have experienced or are experiencing. And can I be centered in the truth and knowing that despite what they are sharing with me, that they are whole and complete, and that yes, through the power and presence of faith, that they too can have a new beginning and see and experience new possibilities. It doesn't mean things are always going to turn out the way we want them to, but that through centering ourselves in the guidance of what we call mystery, that we are led to have doors open and people show up in our life to instill in us that I see you, I know the truth of you, that you are experiencing this challenging thing, but yet you are so much greater. And so to be able to companion with someone, and hold that space, I think is so important. And so as I learn these things, or not learn them, but experiencing them myself, it gives me that greater capacity to be able to be present to one another, and to someone else, and not think that I need to fix them or solve anything, but to know that resiliency of spirit, And I believe there was a line from the article of Holy Detachment that really speaks to that. When they are struggling, do I doubt that they will survive the experience? That it is not okay for them to feel however they are feeling? Do I believe in the power of God, the power to overcome eventually? And so that overcoming will look very differently for other people, but I can hold to that truth and knowing. And then the last thing that I would like to speak of is about having the gift to revisit grief. Um, and this that was in the Grief and the Gift of Spiritual Direction by Reverend Christine uh, Bonnie Vogel. The reality is that you will grieve forever. You will not get over the loss of a loved one. You will not just learn to live with it, you will heal and you will rebuild yourself and endure the loss you have suffered. You will be whole again, but you will never be the same, nor should you be the same, nor would you want to be. And that's by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. So what I really appreciated this semester was to be able to share the story of how, my experiences as a child with my grandmother, my experience of my dad's passing, and how I no longer felt like the same about the sacredness of doing a funeral. Not that I didn't believe it was sacred, but that there was something in me that was saying, no, I don't want to get that close. So as I was able to do journaling that I shared, journaling on my own, and then in the other class, um, watching the video of Dr. Jan Lundy, I felt this softening and this opening and that reigniting of what I felt when I sat at the bedside of some of the people in my congregation when they were in the dying process, of whom I was able to be at the bedside with and to experience the profound sadness yet beauty of um, of the dying process and to have that sacred connection. And so I know Brooke shared the last day of class that she was going to be participating in the grief companioning training that Jan is going to have. And I too am signing up for that because I feel that spark rising. I believe we cannot get, no one on this human journey escapes grief or loss. It's in everything, not just in somebody physically trans making their transition from this world, but the loss of job, the loss of life as we know it in the pandemic, um, saying goodbye to a home or things that used to function a certain way in our body. There is no way that we do not encounter loss as we die to the old and are born anew. And so I just feel this calling to, even if I do nothing with it, which I don't think is the case, but I believe it will bring me into a deeper healing um, around my dad, around grief for myself, exploring deeper grief within my own body, although I'm celebrating now. But, and then also as my mother who is living with me is aging, it gives me an opportunity to deepen my understanding and how to companion not only with myself, but with my mom and others. So I'm feeling really blessed. And so I close with also knowing and setting boundaries for me is really important in that self-care and my time, family time. And then also as I companion with others, how important it is for me to continue my support system, be it through our cohort that could continue. And as I shared in class, looking at ways and connecting with like-minded women in a way that is honoring and supportive. And so, from the bottom of my heart, I have been enriched by participating in this class, so much more than a class. I so appreciate your presence, Penny. You have a natural gift to hold sacred space. Your presence speaks volumes without even having to say so much, but yet your words are very affirming as well. And so I appreciate you dearly. And I wish you nothing but the best, and namaste.